All right, Dara, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Do you
So good.
remember one of the first things I said to you?
No, do
I
you?
said, I love your face and that your voice is great and I want you to do your podcast, but we need to see your face. So I finally get to see what I wanted, which was your face, and to have this conversation and have other people be able to partake. Like, we're finally doing it. And thank you for your patience.
I love it. I would wait years for you. I was like, it's going to be the right time. And just to have you on and to share your light. And I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
for you and everything you've done in my life. So thank you. So I like to start and ask my guests what the word intention means to them.
It's so funny because I saw that in the little brief heads up you sent me, and I saw intention. And it's funny what happens to me when I hear the word intention. You know, when you take a yoga class and someone says, "What's your intention?" and it's almost like so big, you're like, "I don't have one." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
intention, like so many things pop up into my head. Like, what do I intend for this moment? In general, to answer, my intention in general is to live a life that is clean, clear, and bright. That's my intention. So everything I do, everything I eat, everything I drink, everything I say, everything I do transactionally is to be clean, clear, and bright, which is the opposite of having like things dragging behind you or clutter in your space, or yes, consistently living a life that's clean, clear, and bright would be my answer.
I love that. And I would sort of interpret it that intention to you, it is life, because that you embody that. Like it's infused in everything that you do is done with such intentionality and alignment to your soul and your essence. And so we can
I would
feel
say,
that.
yeah. Do you think that intention is like like a head thing? Like it almost makes me think, oh, I don't have to go into my head. I can be intuitive with it, right? Like
Mhm.
into intuitive intention. So almost as if I'm on autopilot at this point because I
Mm.
literally just do it with my intention. It's like it's a big picture intention, I think, rather than like specifics. Does that make sense?
Totally. That's how I consider like intention is like energy in action. Like it's an energetic. So it's just that embodiment of living a soul aligned life, like living everything has meaning, everything has purpose, like and how
Everything is like your life is like art. Your life is like the whole thing is an art project.
yeah.
So that's how it's like, what can look prettier? What can be better? How can I make this lighter and brighter? Or what's bothering me? How can I fix it? So you could probably teach people how to check in with their intentions. Like check in, like to check in with it. Is this aligned
Yeah.
with my overall mission statement for myself? you know?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's something that you can help people with.
Yeah, thank you. See,
Huh?
it turns into I'm like, wait, are we in a session right now or is this
No, you're definitely like intentional. I was like, oh, she could probably help me figure it out. I think some people are, um, I tend to like, I'm so good at helping other people. I'm constantly looking to direct other people. And then I'm like, wait, what do I want? What's my
Mm,
intention? Maybe I should check in with that. Even the question startled me, like having someone ask me,
yeah.
it was like, oh, and then, but it's good to ask yourself, what's your intention now?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Currently. So
Right.
I have a big picture answer. That's my answer, right? Like clean, clear, and bright. But like, let's get I think we can all get a little more specific,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because how can the universe hear what we want if we're not really specific about it? And I had some girls over the other night and some other podcast lovelies, and they looked at me like, what do you want? And I was like, what do I want? What do I want now? Sometimes we forget to even pay attention to our intention and what we want because we're just so busy doing whatever we're doing. And it's really good to check in.
Totally, because I think so many times we get caught on like autopilot and we're just going through the motions. And so, like, just coming back to the present moment, and that's kind of what intentionality does. It just brings you back, like,
I love
what's
it.
happening, what's needed, where am I going, you know?
question brought me back to the question I've been asking this week, like, what do I want? How I better, and I actually thought, oh, maybe this, or is it that, or what do I want? And what's the overall, do I want freedom? Yeah, but in what ways am I not free? I'm free. Like that self-introspection in a light way and just being gentler with yourself if you don't have the answer. Because when these girls asked me what I wanted, I was like, actually, I would like to know what I want. I need to, I want to know what I want. And they were like, good answer. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you don't know. That's kind of what
Totally.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. And I think even just having the intention that I'm being curious and I'm being open for the answers to come in, it allows
That's
that to come
it.
through, you know?
It does. After that happened, something really magical happened with someone I was talking to. You know, I had an idea for a show years ago to help people with their homes, with their lives, make magic in their lives by addressing what's going on in their homes, being intentional with the things in their homes, how they're living. And I was on the phone with her doing a session, and by the end, we're like, we might do a show together. And I was like, that was one of my desires. But even by having that question that the girls asked me, what do you want? And the show flashed in front of it like got sparked.
Hmm.
So that might just be enough to
Totally.
start the questioning.
Yeah, because don't you think that's just what it is? It's kind of like the book by Liz Gilbert, Big Magic, where it's like these ideas are there. And I think just like being open, it allows them to come in and then you're like, oh my gosh, I remember this idea. And then you can give life to that. And then it can kind of come in even more.
Exactly. Somebody might, yeah, somebody, the universe will send somebody. As long as you give some attention to it, you're kind of like lighting its little fire, its little spark. So that is, I really do like these questions that I really don't always ask myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm busy telling everybody what to do. I have to like stop and go, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So speaking of that, you are
Yeah.
like this Jill of all trades, right? So like you're first of all, you're a great expander for people because I reference you so many times when people are like, oh, well, I've got to only do this. And it's like, no, no, no. Like you can do like what lights you up? What are you passionate about? And there are no rules, right? And you're so good at it's all through the lens of this like clean, clear, and bright. But like you do feng shui, you do intuition, you do astrocartography, you do north nodes, you do all of these things. And I just think it's amazing, like that you can really help people to live this a life that's full through all of these different modalities.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Basically, um, you're noticing my Gemini midheaven, and I haven't talked about midheaven yet, but I'm going to start talking about it. That's who I am on the world stage. And due to a couple things in my chart and who I am, I'm able to take wide bodies of things and demystify them and bring them simply and palatably to people who really don't have time to investigate for years. You know, how do I live this raw food lifestyle? I don't have time. I work my job. I take care of my children. And then so I started the YouTube channel making the raw food and going, look, it's easy. Look, it's
Mhm.
pretty. Look, it's fun. Look how easy, pretty and fun. Then, you know, astrogeography. Well, it's very complicated. If you go to try and look into it, you're going to be like, what? And I'm like, let me just boil that down. Here's a course. The North Nodes. Oh my gosh. I've had some major oh my gosh moments in my life. So feng shui was the first one. Like, what? There's a name for what I do naturally, but there's more learning to do about it. This is crazy. I'm mad about it. Crazy about it. Changed my life. Then raw food. Later, years later, oh my gosh, I feel young. I went 100% raw after tasting it, and I was almost all raw for close to 10 years. It changed my life. And I was like, people need to know that what they put in their mouth makes a difference in their everything, in
Mhm.
their youth, in their weight, in their skin clarity, in their energy, in knowing what they're here to do on the planet. Then I would say astrogeography is another one, because you could be doing all these things, yoga and feng shui and eating right. But if you're living on a really hard line, you get a virtual hug from me. And then you get to say, look, this is hard. Like maybe you want to readjust where you are. And then that's the astrogeography. And then there's the North Nodes, which we love so much, which is going to be the basic conversation we're going to have today, which is trumps everything in my opinion, because I have found it to be the North Nodes in astrology. It's like the reason for being, our reason for incarnation. The North Node spells out our Dharma. If we are living according to our Dharma in career, in love, in daily trips to the grocery store, in our friendships, if we are wearing the colors of our North Node, if we are playing in the arena that our North Node house is in, we get lit up. And when we're lit up, the universe sees it. Other people see it. Opportunities come to us in the form of other people. So it's fascinating because the North Node literally so efficiently spells out your Dharma and what's going to make you happy. And it's opposite, the axis where you come from, your karma is your South Node, and it spells out what kind of shadow behavior or what behavior you keep doing that you're really good at, but you're not supposed to do anymore, what dulls you. You know, somebody could be living, doing things they're really good at. No one's going to notice that anything's wrong, except that person's going to feel like everybody else is sparkly, but they're not. But they're doing what they're good at, but they're just not happy. So the idea is you take the goodies and the gifts from lifetimes of being in your South Node. For you, do you mind me saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can say?
Yeah, you can say.
Pisces. So you have a lifetime, you have spirituality up the wazoo. You have an understanding that we're all one. You have probably been a spiritual healer or someone who just has this understanding far beyond normal daily life. And it's your time, like you were a healer or in service to the world in a more energetic way, in a conceptual way, in a magical, mystical way. And now you're actually supposed to be in service to others in a practical way and fit in. And so when you know that and you stretch and grow to be more Virgo as your sign, North Node in Virgo dictates, you're just going to start to feel good by stretching and growing. By stepping out of some of the Pisces stuff, you take the magic, you take the spirituality, you take this great spiritual understanding you have, but really try to fit it into society and literally being of service in a practical way. So when you do that, your soul is evolving. Like everybody needs to know how to evolve their soul, because when you do that, all of a sudden your spirit feels lit up. It's shocking how simple this information is, how powerful it is, and that's what I help people with. It's the first thing I look at when I look at somebody's natal chart.
Yes, I love that, because I think it's something that you had said as well, is that when it is your living in your North Node is your Dharma, but it's also a path to purpose. But what it also does is it is easy. And yes, our South Node may be more comfortable, right? Like, and it's what we're used to. But like when we can stretch ourselves and live in the North Node, what that does is we feel more fulfilled. So like it's kind of like swimming downstream versus upstream.
Oh, good one.
Do you agree with that?
Totally agree. Swimming downstream's easy. You know how to do it, but you're not building your muscles. You're not like reaching somewhere you've never been. You're kind of going backwards. I love that analogy.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
really
yeah.
great. Yeah, I consider it like just your comfort zone, as if it's like a squishy brown sofa and you're just kind of super comfy in it, but you start to sink a little bit lower and it's harder to get out and the room gets a little dimmer and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm comfortable, I'm safe. And
Yeah.
but it's not the reach and the stretch. And I like to think that when you reach and stretch, you're growing, you're stretching and growing, and just little activities help.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing, right? Because we came here, like our soul came here to grow and to evolve. And so it's like, okay, now we're going to step into, and mine is fine, but like Pisces, that's what it's been for maybe like who knows how many lifetimes. And so this lifetime, the soul is like, you know what, let's take all this and let's use it in perhaps a different way, or like you said, a more practical way. And then that's for the purpose of my soul's growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah. It's really that what it is that you've done it too many times. So Pisces is each sign is an amazing sign. So Pisces has its really amazing aspects, but if you've done it time after time, lifetime after lifetime, you end up being like the negative expression. You become bottom heavy in it. And so you end up being kind of like, the high expression is spiritual. The high expression of Pisces is extremely imaginative and creative and arts and flowy. But if you're too flowy in this lifetime, you will feel almost like an outcast, like not fit in, and you just won't feel like you're it's not a bad south node. Some of them, I'll tell you, when I made the videos, because I help people in sessions and I also made videos so you could just get your video and learn about it. And I was like, oh man, the south node doesn't sound nice. Like I had to add humor to some of them. It's not nice. Like our south node behavior is not the pretty side of that sign. Like mine is south node in Scorpio. And the cool side about it that I'm proud and I get to take with me, it's like a goodie bag or a treasure box or a little suitcase that you get to take goodies from your Pisces South Node. I get to take goodies from my Scorpio South Node. So I'm a seer, right? I can know what's going on. I can see agenda. I have all these like Scorpio like detective qualities. And if I stay there in any way where I am trying to manipulate anybody to do what I want them to do, or especially a partner, or I'm getting involved in drama of any kind, or I'm leaning into somebody to take care of me financially, I know, no, no, no. And if I had known that when I was younger, I probably would have saved myself a lot of pain. So I love that it's getting to really young people. This information that I put out, there's 20-year-olds coming to me and they're like, I'm like, this is going to be your shining star through your Saturn return. When you don't know what's up and you're going through the changes, you're going to know which little voice to listen to. That's what the North Node is. Like you hear a South Node, like stay in the comfort zone, or I'm really good at this, but you'll also hear this, I've always been, this, and I'm going to fan the flame of that. I know which voice to listen to, but the South Node is not so nice when you talk about it. It was hard for some of them. Some of them are more pleasant than others.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because that's what I was going to tell you. So I was introduced to the North Nodes like a while ago, and that was all they looked at. It was a spiritual center, and that's really all they looked at.
South Node?
And the North Node, like living your North Node.
Okay,
and
cool.
But talking about the South Node, it was very like, it was rough. And I think that once I was introduced to you, and at first I did the online course, and just hearing the way you talk about it, it doesn't interpret, like I didn't read it like you were like it was bad, like it was like, here's just things to look at. It was funny, and it was you're so light, and so I think
I made it light. Because it doesn't help when you hear the information and then you go feel bad about yourself. It's more just like, ooh, let's notice these little things that I do. Ooh, that's not so good.
Totally. And especially like for Pisces South Node, like the victim mentality. So then it's like, then it would be like, oh, well, there's no hope, like I can't, you know what I mean?
When I like to think about, because of my nature, I like to think of practice. Okay, that's the information. What can we practically do to get out of it? And for me, I immediately saw like a buttoned up down shirt. So instead of these long, flowy, hippie, like, tie-dye clothes with lots of stuff hanging things, flowing things, like you have enough of that coming out of your pores. Like you are that. So you don't need to dress like that. So why not dress like your North Node to help you feel that, like fake it till you make it, or play the part until it's I call it activation. Like you're playing a part to activate it, because how you present to the world, how you look at yourself, it makes a difference in shifting or balancing out. So I'm very practical. I'm like a to-do girl. Like I don't want the information and then just sit with it. I want to know what the heck to do with it.
Well, and I think that's why you're such an amazing teacher. And even the sessions that you do, it's not just, sometimes we can live in this culture of like where we just want to absorb content. But for you, it's really about empowering people. And I think that's why I love, like, you can have a session. I recommend having a session, but then you have this whole like library of things where you're empowering people to understand, like, oh, I can like actually learn this and apply it. Yeah.
And like, it is empowering. Like, I don't need to be the expert. I don't need to be the boss of you. I don't need you to need me. And I can't, just like when I did raw food, I can't feed everyone, even if I had a restaurant. but I could make a video and show you how to do it yourself.
Hmm.
So I was like, I can't do sessions for everybody for astrogeography and show them where are the best places for them to live. I'm like, they need to be able to do it themselves at any moment, because at any moment, I'm so aware that life changes, and I love staying current so much that, like, we don't know next week. You can get an invitation to go somewhere, and you might want to know what energies you're flying into. You might get a feeling, why do I keep thinking about India? Or why do I keep thinking about Toronto? What's there for me? Like,
Hmm.
why am I getting those? And then you can look it up at any time. It's empowering. So thank you for noticing. That's important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to circle back a little bit because it was one of my questions for you, and you kind of brought it up with younger people starting to do the courses before they get to their Saturn return. And quite frankly, I think that these courses should be taught like at a young age in schools. That's my hope, my prayer.
Wouldn't that be amazing
That
if
would be
parents
amazing.
do their children's north nodes and they could help guide them towards where their soul, it's basically knowing somebody's north node is knowing their soul's wish.
That's beautiful.
So I'm an intuitive and I can do that naturally. Like, I just get visions, but this fast tracks it and it makes it accessible to somebody who isn't necessarily a sensitive. I think we all have those gifts, but maybe you're not practicing it. It gives you like what your child's soul wishes, or your partner. You can know what their soul needs for their activation and for them to be sparkly and happy. And when they're happy, you're going to be happier, because so it's for everybody. It's just amazing. So yeah, in schools, parents,
Yeah,
let's do that.
everything.
Let's
But
do that.
so here's my question though, and I don't know. I I may be wrong, but I thought I heard you say this, but maybe not. That our North Node, does it like really come into play? I want you to talk about the Saturn return and the North Node and how the two kind of come into play, if they do at all.
They do. They do. So lifetime after lifetime, I've been a Scorpio. I I would say, it's funny. I would say people are allowed, and I was allowed to be Scorpio. I say that because don't worry if you're younger than 30 and you're still playing out your South Node. Normally, the North Node comes a knocking at 30, just after your Saturn return. Whenever your Saturn return ends, who you're supposed to be on the other side of what I call, and it's, my daughter just thinks it's gross when I say it, but I feel like the Saturn return is like a vaginal canal. Like, you're in it and you're just like, you're coming out as somebody new. You're going to be birthed, but you have no idea what it's going to look like. You're uncomfortable. You're confused. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes you know something's good's happening, but it's almost like being pushed through something.
Mhm.
And to have a spiritual shining star when you're being tossed and tumbled and pushed and confused, and it's so helpful. So what happens is lifetime after lifetime, I was Scorpio, or your South Node in Pisces, or whatever your South Node, it's an axis. So if your North Node is Virgo, your South Node is always Pisces. If your North Node is Pisces, your South Node is always Virgo. If your North Node is Taurus like mine, your South Node is always Scorpio. So I was Scorpionic. I definitely had Taurus tendencies, beautiful Taurus tendencies, love of nice things, but there was areas that I was definitely not knowing that I was doing the Scorpio South Node thing. But what happens is you're dragging, picture it like you're dragging karma from all your past lifetimes into this lifetime. And that's who you are for the first 30 years. And at about age 30, after your Saturn return, the North Node's like, no, not for this lifetime. And I actually really believe that the older people, if you know anybody, and this is a good practice, if you know anybody, a parent or a grandparent who's crunchy and they're not happy, or something's just like they're grumpy, there's a very big chance that they never activated their North Node, that they never really got the message due to societal programming, due to whatever reasons. But I will say with confidence that the people who are happy in this lifetime definitely activated their North Nodes. But don't feel bad for anybody under 30 to be in your South Node. Party it up, express it, feel it. But chances are, my daughter got this information at about age 19,
Mhm.
when I was like, wait a minute, you're a Leo North Node. Like, it's time to step out from being the observer to actually being in the middle or front and center. And I would encourage her and her love of glamour. I would encourage her to step out and shine almost as if it was a persona. Like, you don't have to be that all the time. And she said, it's kind of like fake it till you make it, or try it a little bit. Try being that Leo person out of the house, and you're going to see that people are going to respond well to it. So usually when you just test out your North Node, and that's all you have to do,
Mhm.
is you test it out with a little activity, and you'll see good things start to happen, and then it will give you confidence. But certainly your family knows you as your South Node, because that's who you came in as. And they need to be told your intentions. Speaking of intentions, this is where intentions ties in, because you can say, this is what I've learned about myself. This is kind of what I've always known to be true. And here's some language. Here's a video you can watch. Here's what I feel lit up by. This is where I'm headed. This is where I'm headed is intention. It is my intention to be of service to the world in a healing capacity. You, Melanie, like, it's my intention to serve others by using my charm. That's your Libra midheaven. By using my ability to network and connect people, by using my ability as a Libra midheaven to really let others shine at what they're good at, and then your North Node, you have a ninth house placement.
Yes.
Okay, same as me. It's taking philosophical and expansive ideas, and learning about other cultures and things like astrology, and that's your realm. And I'm going to do this, and this is what I want to do. I hope you support me in it. But at least they'll be able to. I think a lot, when I really delved into the nodes, I realized that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why a lot of people have trouble going home, literally to the place of their birth, because their parents and their family kind of want them to stay in the South Node, because anything else doesn't feel safe to them either. Like, my little Libra South Node peacemaker is all of a sudden going to stand up and demand what she wants and say what she wants. Like, no, they're going to encourage you to stay how they know you, because anything else is scary. So now with this North Node information, you get to give them language that helps them understand it's not scary. It's you, but you're growing, right?
Totally, 1000%. And I think there's so much to unpack there, but like I
You
feel
know,
like
there is. I don't think I said that in any podcast so far.
it's
So
it's it's great though, because I think that, I don't know if you know this about me, but I went through my Saturn return around, as people do, around 27, 28. Things started getting louder, and I finally listened. And so I went through this whole journey, and basically I sold my house, I quit my job, and I moved to Italy for 12 weeks. And it feels so extreme, but you can see it like even in the placement of my North Node in that ninth house, right? Like it's like I needed to get so
needed to
far
do that.
away from the family constructs so I could, because the truth is I didn't have a Dara or a course where I could, like, I didn't know what was happening. I'm just like, I just feel like there's more. And so that's why I
What
think,
it feels.
yeah,
That's
like
amazing. Your
have,
North Node said you better get on an airplane, because the Sagittarius ninth house placement for your North Node. So for people who are just hearing this, the North Node sign, so Melanie's is in Virgo, is the what and who she needs to be. Right? You'll always be Pisces, you'll always be beautiful, but you need to activate the Virgo. That's who and what. The house, and I show all of this for free on my website, the house placement, how to find it, the house placement tells you in what arena of life. So yours is Virgo, acts of service, but it also means that you need to be sharing other cultures. You need to be studying other things, spiritual truths. And it requires that ninth house Sagittarius placement. The energy of that is someone who's willing to leave social constructs, leave limited community beliefs, leave home, leave family in order to search for truths, be they intellectual or spiritual. And that is your Dharma, always. So anytime you can get yourself on an airplane, good. 30 miles farther from home, anytime you can study something far and wide like astrology, philosophy, commune with other people who have things to share, yes. So it helps you understand the second part of your North Node.
Yeah, and I love you're also one of the teachers who talks about that it's almost like, yes, you've got your north node, but you consider the house like a second north node. So look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
energetics of like, so the ninth house is Sagittarius. So understanding the energetics of that north node as well. And then you can kind of, like you said
Keep
earlier,
it
try
together.
things on and see how you
It's
show up.
storytelling. But yeah, like so many questions. I can't tell you. I did Zoom recordings, where Zoom sessions where people ask questions to me. But how do I, if I'm this sign with this house, how do you? It's just storytelling. So for example, I'm Taurus North Node, and someone's like, but that's slow and so steady and home, and I go, yes. But and so here I have the Taurus North Node, which is slow and steady. And I have the ninth house placement of faraway travel. But if you look at how I travel, I'll go to Rome and I will find a place with an apartment with a kitchen. And I look like I live there. So I'm slow and steady when I travel. You will not find me hopping from city to city ever. You know what I mean? So there's
Mhm.
a way to tie them both together. And even if they're conflicting, if you had, let's say you had North Node Pisces in the 12th house, no, North Node Virgo in the 12th house of Pisces, right? Your house matches your South Node.
Mhm.
I would say that it's not, it's a dance between both. I would say there's a way to look at it like you can be a practical healer and bring your spirituality while you're baking the bread to deliver to somebody in need. Like you're bringing your energy to the table.
Mhm.
Your arena is maybe doing practical help for somebody, physical service for somebody, and all the while helping them to cover what's hidden in their psyche. You know, it goes together. It's not like you don't have to be so linear with it. It's like storytelling for yourself. So
Mm.
does that make sense? Like,
Totally.
yeah. So,
Yeah. I love that. So, okay. So I kind of want to go back because I feel like when we first started talking about it, I sort of put my understanding of it, and I want to I, I more want to ask you, what would be the reason
mhm.
for, so we've lived all these lifetimes, right, in our south node, and it's worked for us. So I think I said like that the involvement of the soul, but I want to hear what you believe. Like, why? Why is it important? Like someone that's listening and they're like, why is it important?
Okay. Well, it doesn't work for us anymore. Like we've done it. It's almost like it doesn't work for us anymore because it's not cute anymore because we've done it so many times and we're towards the negative expression of that sign. Like not cute. We're not,
Okay.
it, it's not cute anymore. Like it doesn't work. Like if I lean on somebody to take care of me financially, I'm going to tank. Energetically, it's not going to work. But if I had a Scorpio North Node, I need to learn how to share resources. I need to have somebody lean on me and me lean on them. So it's just you end up being the not cute parts of that sign. And so you're not trying to lose that sign, you're trying to add medicine to balance it out. So it's an axis, like by you adding Virgo tendencies, having a schedule, having containers, having boundaries in your life between you and other people. By learning that, you're just balancing yourself out because you're really overdosed in Pisces. You're just drinking too much of that Kool-Aid, literally.
Gotcha. Yes. That's good.
In order to fit in order to make money, in order to have, it's just being out of balance. So if you know the signs, if anybody knows in any sign in the zodiac, right, like Leo empowered is like generous and big hearted and fun and creative, but Leo out of power can be quite brutal, and
Mm.
selfish and get quite, ornery. So it's just staying on the high side of things. And the way to stay on the high side of your South Node is to add a dose. Take a
Mm.
dose.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does totally. I love that. That's very clear. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm trying to think if there was the sign and the placement was super important. And so that's like the second north node. They buy the course from you. They can kind of get a feel
They
for
can
it.
just pick, yeah, they go to my website and they just can look up for free. All you need for your North Node sign And you can look up anyone's, if their birthday's on Facebook, they don't need the birth time for the sign. Like seriously, you can know everybody's North Node. You can pretty much find their birthday.
Yeah.
South noding me, I'm a detective. Like that's easy. Know their node. You want to know somebody's node before you get into a relationship with them or before you hire them for something. You want to make sure that they're being hired for something that their soul wants to do. Otherwise, they're going to leave you or they're going to be unhappy. I had one that happen. So then that's the sign. You just look up the chart. And then there's a way to look up your birth chart. And I show you how to do that for free on my website. That's North Node Part 2. You need your birth time. You look up the chart. I show you how to find it. And you find your cute little North Node, which is a lucky charm. So whenever you do ninth house activities, whenever I do ninth house Sagittarius activities, my spirit's going to be happy. So and blessings will come. It's like a blessings lucky charm. So you need to know it. Everybody needs to know their dharma. And I haven't heard one person say, no, this isn't true. Like, I don't feel it. Not one.
Yeah. So I want to go back to it. There's something really heartbreaking about something that you said earlier. Like if someone's like older and they're a little like crunchy and grumpy because they never understood like that North Node. And I think that's why I love the work because you're making it so accessible. Like even on your Instagram, like you're helping people. You know what I'm saying? It's like people can see just to understand it. But I don't know if there's a question in this or just a statement that I really wish things would change and that everyone would understand this in order to, like you're saying, live the high road.
Yeah, we have to spread the message. Like just know your North Node, know what makes you happy. Do little things. It's never too late for somebody, no matter how old or young.
Yeah.
There's never a time when you shouldn't get this information. 4 years old to 84, like there's no, you know what I mean? I can encourage my 92-year-old dad to write the story of his life due to his North Node. You know what I mean? Like it would be good for him to do that. And I could make him laugh by saying, he has a Gemini North Node, and they're not really supposed to go on long dissertations about things. The Gemini has the Sagittarius South Node, and I think I used this in the video as an example. And he would go on what I called lockdown before I knew what the hell real lockdown was. But I would look over, like we'd have a family gathering, and maybe there's a friend over, and Herbie, he's on my YouTube channel. He's so cute. He's my stepdad. He would just love to lock in with somebody and just talk. He did not notice that they had lost interest. He did not notice that they had checked out. They looked like a trapped animal. And because I'm an intuitive, I could look over and be like, oh my God, I got to save them. And I would tell him, Herbie, you have that person out. Oh no, it's fine. No. And he would go on and on. And I think that was when I was younger, in his later years, he'd actually stop and listen, or he'd ask them to like make sure that they were with him, and that's the medicine for that node. So you can make humor out of it, I think. Or show somebody their video and say, does this resonate with you? Does this, like, what do you think? Does it resonate with you?
Yeah. Because I think that's the thing, right? And that's what, to me, what the South Node kind of shows is I think having any awareness is like, that's the first step in change. And so seeing that and then having sort of that acceptance humor around it to be like, oh, wow, I see that one. I see her. There she is. Like it just makes it.
How about totally. Like there were two girls over. I was on Kenzie's podcast, Kenzie Burke, and her best friend, and I was explaining, and they were like, they're enraptured with this is so cool. And I was like, isn't it cool to know your best friends? And she goes, yeah. It was Sibella. She said, you can be like, you're so South right now.
You're so I love that.
You're in your South Node. You're so South right now. And I was like, that's so great. You can just call somebody out in a cute way. Like, you're being so South.
Yeah.
You're in your South Node, and then they can be like, oh, I'm doing it again. Isn't that a loving, cute way to help somebody stop doing their shadow? When I was younger, all through these past years, I heard shadow work, shadow behavior, know your shadow. And I'm like, what is it? Like, I don't really want to delve into my shadow. Like, I don't know what it is. Okay, I have a shadow. I'm not afraid of it, but what is it? This specifically spells out your behavior. And I was
Mm.
like, wow, that's really helpful. I don't mind hearing it. I just didn't want to I don't want to read lots of books on my shadow. I don't think I want to go lie down with a therapist. I just want to know my shadow and
Yeah.
not do it. And I can tell when I'm doing my shadow or South Node behavior because I get kind of like, and then I'm like, I know how to redirect it. For Taurus North Node, it's like make something hot or beautiful, put it in pottery, and keep your eyes on your own plate. Like I came up with ways that you can redirect any South Node behavior, like by an action, by a simple action, and then that gets you out of it. That's
Totally.
pretty direct. Like it's not years and it's not being in process. Like honestly, I don't have patience for process.
No, and I think that
So,
that's like, it's exactly right. I think that's what you do is you really simplify it and having it to where you're empowering them with the action, like one small thing, like even making a cup of tea, like
yeah,
just feeling into that for one
going
moment.
out into nature. For
Yeah.
you, it might be something fun like taking your colored pencils, sharpening them, and putting them in a thing. Oop, I'm being Virgo, right? There's my container,
Yeah.
right? Or setting a new alarm on your phone to do 5 sit-ups. Oop, I'm being good, or here it's time to have my thing, or any kind of routine. When you do maybe one of those bullet journals, or you have a calendar, or you do whatever it is that makes you feel like you're being responsible, earthy, and fitting in,
Mhm.
that's going to activate your Virgo North Node. And you're like, cool, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then it'll lead to bigger things. Like the little things lead to bigger things. But
Hmm.
when people are having big questions, and we're not talking about astrogeography this time, next time, but it's good to know what medicine you need. So you need um, Virgo energy, right? The more Virgo, the better. Until you're like my age, you're way younger, and I'm 53, I'm turning 54. When you start to realize that you have, and I did a session for someone who's around my age, and I'm like, she's North Noded. She has fully swung the pendulum into her North Node. I can see that she had done it. I'm getting chills. And I was like, guess what? After you swung the pendulum, guess what happens? It comes back to the middle. So you get to be a little South Node, a little North Node. You get to revisit your South Node intentionally because you've
Hmm.
already swung it and you've balanced yourself out. So none of it has to go away. It's just more, where are you at in life and what do you need? What's missing and where are you feeling like you're not shining? And it probably has to do with something you're doing out of the South Node, and it takes a shift.
Yeah.
So it's a lifelong journey. It's not like you do feng shui one day and you're done. No, things come into
Right.
your house like weirdly. How do you all of a sudden have clutter? Or would it, you all of a sudden, all of a sudden you could find yourself triggered, as anybody would be at this time during this period of the world. Time is, we're all triggered. There's like a collective trigger. So a lot of people could really want to just stay in their South Node, in their comfort zone, but this is the time to shine it on even more, to help
Yeah.
yourself not have a poor mental state.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I love that. I love
Like
that.
if when you're doing your North Node and you've got your schedule and you do your podcast and you're following your schedule, which is all Virgo, and you're getting your product out and you're being of help to others, and you're really being of help to others by sharing philosophical ideas, right? Like you're being of practical service. You're speaking, there's a podcast. They get to have your energy because you're right here with me, even though we talked about this before COVID, didn't we? We talked about you doing this before.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Talking about, yeah, this has
Yeah.
been a long, but think about how, like, technically you could be in person, like, who wouldn't benefit from your energy? But because of the times that we're in, doing podcasts visually is the way, or just your voice is a way to give your energy. And so um, you're sharing things that I would call the people need to know things, and being of service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Thank you for that. So one other kind of quick question before, as we're wrapping up, because I can feel it on me. And I think sometimes, like, if I have a question, like a lot of times other people will as well. So we're going to find the piece, perhaps. Like for me, I find there are parts of the Virgo North Node that I like, right? And they work for me. And then there's this other story that I'm like, that's so boring. Like, who wants a routine? But then I like it. I like a little bit of organization, but I like spontaneity. And so I'm wondering what you would say to people where they look at it and they're not they're almost shutting it off before they even, like you say, just try one or two things, just see how you feel.
So I'm glad to hear you say that about the Virgo, because I haven't heard that. I usually hear the Capricorn North nodes. Like, I don't want it. I don't want that. Because they're like home and nurturing, and they don't want the Capricorn. And it's the number one that I hear. And then I tell them, but you've got to love your North node. Let's fall in love with your North node. So what if I would say to you, like, I would rephrase it. I'd be like, okay, it doesn't mean you never get to be flowy. You get to bathe and have rose oils in your bath. Like, you still get to have that Pisces gorgeousness and be by the sea. But doesn't there need to be a container for the water so it just doesn't go everywhere? Like, if you're going to take a bath, it needs to be in a bathtub or some kind of vessel. This container holds magical creation because I can color with these. So you're really just creating a container for your magical self. So you're just not blobbing all over the place. You know, you're not just like, people can understand that you have something to offer. Like, a website is a container for your menu of things you offer. Like, the podcast is a container, a vessel to hold this magical information. You always get to be magical. You always get to be spiritual, but you need the container in which to serve it up. So honor the container and honor the magic. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that. This is why everyone's going to go and sign up for your course. It's just that was perfect. Thank you for that.
I want to interview you. I need a podcast.
I'm telling you, that's why I'm like,
I'm asking you more questions.
That's why, listen, I'm going to have people vote on this. I want Dara, you said it in one of our last sessions that, maybe I'm like, oh, we should do something together because I love you. And I think that, we could have great conversation.
I love you too. And we do. You're bringing out stuff I haven't said on other podcasts. So
thank you. Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to add referent to the North nodes that we haven't covered that you feel called to talk about?
I would love, actually, this is not for this and tying it up, but I would love to hear specifics for you. And it's not for now because we're closing this up, but I would love to know ways in which you find it annoying, the Virgo North node. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would be cool. So for next time, maybe you'll just make a list and I'll tell you ways to reframe it.
Yeah.
Usually to people, I want to say that it's resistance to the North node. If you don't like it, it's just not, it just doesn't see. A lot of the North nodes, like, think about if you have a Sagittarius South node and you've traveled the world and you've been all over the world and you're like a guru and you're like, the grass is always greener because it literally, you just want to expand and travel the world. And now all of a sudden you're told you have to stay local and that what's interesting to you has to be like what's trendy. You don't come from that. You're like, that's literally boring. So you have one where you could say that's boring. I would say read about Virgo and fall in love with Virgo. I would say don't have preconceived notions about it, to look towards your North node and see why that is needed. Because in our natal charts, I have Virgo rising. If I go to the negative expression of Virgo, it's not so nice, it's nitpicky, it's a ruinous analysis. But the really cool thing about your Virgo is that you'd have to really try hard to be the negative expression of Virgo. You're going to be the nicest part of Virgo. You're going to be somebody who can, container and have routine, but it's not going to look like bad. You know what I mean? If somebody's too Virgo, that's not, because they're uncomfortable with change. But you're so good with flow and change. You trust the universe that having a little bit of structure is only going to help you. So,
yeah. Well, thank you.
That's what I wanted to say.
That's
I
so
want
great.
everyone to love their North nodes.
Yes. And you make it so easy, like with seriously, I know we keep coming back to the course, but like it's a way, and I recommend, because I know you can do a la carte, but like for me, right on the North node, you can just do your North node, but I recommend doing all of them because every time I get a new client or I mean, like truly, that is my first resource that I go to. Yeah. So just understanding people, like your best friend, your spouse, your parents, your children, like it's just
your new friend.
It's invaluable. Exactly.
Your new friend, your new lover, your new baby, your new anybody, your new employee. It's invaluable. It's intriguing. It helps you to understand people better and to support them in their endeavors. So if you are a people person in any way, if you have more than one person in your life, or even just one, but yes, it's a life tool. It's a life tool forever and ever.
I love it. We'll link to your website and all that and your YouTube channel. We'll link to everything in the show notes. But as we wrap up, I like to ask my guests, I mean, you've given us so much information here, but I like to ask for one really tangible tip that somebody can do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be through the lens of the North Node, but just really one tip that after they listen to this, they can stop and sort of apply it, which are so good at giving us an applicable tool to use to create more intention. And I would also add more purpose since we're talking about North Nodes to their life.
Let me think about this in a second. I mean, obviously, I would say know your North Node because then you're going to have a zillion things to do. But if you didn't know your North Node, I would say listen. I would say listen.
Mm-hmm.
I would say unplug and listen, not to everybody else, not to the news, not to other people's opinions, OPO, OPBS, other people's belief systems, like unplug and color, unplug and say what, and this is the next thing I want to talk about on Instagram or wherever is what are your unmet needs? What's missing? What's missing?
Mm.
Right? What's missing? What do you need? What do you need that's not being met?
Yeah.
You know what I love, and I want to leave with this, is that people think like you have to have positive languaging. They think like you have to automatically not say anything negative. Like it's all got to be positive affirmations and watch your languaging. I really like when you can actually write a list of what's bothering you, write a list of how you feel, however negative, like anything you want to change, anything you don't like, and then give it a minute. And then on the other side of the paper, on the same, in another column, just write what you would like or how to fix it. So I feel like not to shy away from what's bugging you or any negative things you might say, and then you can turn it positive and that will help shift. So I would be very aware of what isn't working.
Mm. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dara. I so appreciate you. I feel
Oh
like
my gosh, this is so fast.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll have you back all the time. But like, I just think truly coming across you has been such a gift in like our sessions and the courses. You have this beautiful gift of really seeing someone and reflecting that back to them. And there have been some amazing like teachers and friends along the way who have really seen me and helped me remember that. And you're one of them. And so I so appreciate you. And I thank you so much for making the time and coming on.
I'm delighted, honored, and tickled.
I love it.